Welcome back to This Is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander, Tough Rules, and Cool Interactions, episode 130. Today's episode is going to be another subscriber-requested video, and I always love getting to make these videos on the more complex questions and directly help you out with a nice detailed answer. So let's get to the question. Zaros96 said, you should make a video explaining blink/removal interactions with cards like Tidehollow Sculler effects on the stack. I see a lot of new and experienced players struggling with that interaction. And yes, this is a really good one, as these cards, there's very similar effects out there that seem identical, but they have a subtle difference that can be really abused to make some of them a lot more powerful than others. So now let's take a look at Tidehollow Sculler and some other cards with a similar effect. Tidehollow Sculler is a creature with two triggered abilities. The first says that when Tidehollow Sculler enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand and you choose a non-land card from it. Exile that card, and then its second ability says that when Tidehollow Sculler leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to its owner's hand. Now, before taking a look at some other cards, let's go over how we can abuse the abilities on this card to make it even more powerful than intended. With its first ability being a triggered ability, it will go onto the stack and wait to resolve there once it does enter the battlefield. But while it's on the stack, we can go ahead and trigger its leaves the battlefield trigger ability. Most often, this would be something like through sacrificing it, or any other means to get it off the battlefield, like bouncing, flickering, or destroying it. So, why is this abusing the card's abilities? Well, if we can cause the ability that brings the exiled card back to that player's hand to resolve first, it brings no card back to their hand because we've yet to exile a card. And then we go to resolve the ability that actually does exile that card, and because the ability to bring it back has already happened, the card is simply just going to be stuck in exile, now with no means to come back. Okay, so now let's take a look at another card with a similar to that ability. That would be Fiend Hunter, which also has two triggered abilities like the Sculler, and these say, when Fiend Hunter enters the battlefield, you may exile another target creature. And then it has, when Fiend Hunter leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So again, we can hold priority while the ETB trigger is on the stack, use any means to make the Fiend Hunter leave the battlefield, and pop the ability so that it brings back nothing, and then we resolve the initial ETB trigger to exile a creature, and again, that will just stay in exile. But now let's take a look at a card like Banisher Priest, which has just a single triggered ability on it that says, when Banisher Priest enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield. So how does this differ from cards like the Sculler and the Hunter? The wording on the Priest makes it so that it is less abusable, as we don't get two different triggered abilities that each use the stack. We don't gain any form of priority between the time that the Priest's ability to exile something and then the event that brings that something back from exile. The Priest has a one-shot effect, and we can take a look at the comprehensive rules to get more info about what these are and what they mean in a game. CR 610.3 states that some one-shot effects cause an object to change zones until a specified event occurs. A second one-shot effect is created immediately after the specified event. This second one-shot effect returns the object to its previous zone, and so, because the second one-shot effect happens immediately, it is, air quotes, faster than players are. Almost similar to how SBAs, state-based actions, are faster than players. But this is even faster than SBAs, as they are not checked during this process. Again, there is no priority that would be given. And now, I have a bonus question that I hope that Zaros gets a kick out of, as well as you all. your opponent controls a Dread of Night, which is an enchantment that says white creatures get -1/-1. And then that opponent also controls an Elesh Norn Grand Cenobite that has the static ability that says creatures your opponents control get -2/-2, which means that your white creatures are currently -3/-3, and this is just ruining your day. So you decide to use your Tainted Aether to possibly make your opponent sacrifice their Norn, as it's an enchantment that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield, its controller sacrifices a creature or land. So could you use your Banisher Priest in hand to deal with the Norn? What about the Fiend Hunter in your hand? They are 2 and 3 toughness respectively, so they'd both die as soon as SBAs are checked. Do these have different results, or do they have similar results? Anyhow, that's all I've got for today's episode. As always, I hope that all of you have found this video to be entertaining at least, and I hope that a few of you have even learned something about the crazy rules in this great game of Magic. I'm also curious if the sound of these cicadas have come through on this video. I guess I'll find it out here when I edit the video, but my goodness, they are loud. All right, whatever. That's all I got for today. Yeah, have a good one. Ta-ta.